So you want to read Brandon Sanderson?
I do.
We love Brandon Sanderson. I'm Kivox. This is Meekachii, and we're gonna tell you guys the order, the best order.
We think
our best decision on order, and by our I mean hers, on how to read the Cosmere series.
Disclaimer: we haven't read the full series yet, and we haven't read all the short stories yet. However, I've created this list, so if we change our minds, in the future we may create a different video. But this is the order that I chose to read them. And we do have a subscriber that is a huge Brandon Sanderson fan that has read all of these books, and he read over my list and said it was an okay list. So I feel pretty confident in making this video that it's decent. This idea came from one of my book goals of the year was to read more Brandon Sanderson.
So that's my favorite goal that we have this year is just read more Brandon Sanderson.
Which also helps my other goal of reading 5 books, 600 pages or more, because a lot of his books are huge. And we're actually going to be doing a page tally throughout this video to let you know how many pages from the editions of the books that we have are in the Cosmere and how many we've read so far, which I thought was a cool idea that you had. Because there are a lot of big books in this series.
So what are your predictions right now on how many pages?
That we've... Oh, total?
I'm going to guess it's going to be 7,253.
Oh my
I'm going to write it down.
Are you including the short stories?
Yeah, why not? 8,200 and... That's my guess. 8,253.
Mine is 9,726.
726. Mika.
Is this the Price is Right thing where
no.
closest without going over?
I think it should just be closest.
Okay.
Okay, just overall closest. So those are our guesses, and you guys can leave a comment down below letting me know what your guess is. If it's exactly right, I'm gonna say you cheated, so I don't believe you. But if you got it right...
But how did they know, our editions? Well, I guess they'll be able to see it.
Yeah, we're going to just tell them what the pages are.
Once we decided to take on the task of reading more Brandon Sanderson, then you have to start thinking, what books? Because not only does he have a lot of books, he has 2 different kind of classes of books. So there's ones that are in the Cosmere. If you know anything about Brandon Sanderson, you've probably heard of the Cosmere, which is a universe that he created that a chunk of his books fit into. I hate that word. Why did I use that word?
Chunky.
Then there's his other books that are not set in the Cosmere. So the Cosmere essentially is just a universe that he created from what I understand, and each of these books/series fit into a different planet within that Cosmere universe. So there's kind of 2 reasons we chose to go within the Cosmere universe when reading more Brandon Sanderson.
I want to do it.
Okay.
Is we had already read some, and we really liked the books that we read. So it was I'm down. Let's do that. And then B. Wait, was it A and B or was it 1 and 2?
Whatever.
A and B. I mean 1 and B.
Is that a lot of the people that love Brandon Sanderson, a lot of the books that they rave about happen to be in the Cosmere. So there's certain books that I want to get to within this series that people keep talking about, but I kind of want to go in a specific order.
We are also reading them during a book club. We have a book club that we do every month. Sometimes we do 2 books. And we have already done 2 of them. No? 1
3.
of them. 3 of them? Oh, where was I? I was there. I'm just kidding.
And since I'm a completionist, I wanted to also read the short stories while going through the main stories, which is where I found a hiccup in trying to find information online in what order I should read it in. Either you have these crazy intricate websites that give you way too much detail that's really overwhelming, or you have so many websites that just don't give you enough detail. Brandon Sanderson's website is good because he does have a list of his books. They're not necessarily in order, though, of the order that you should read the series, but within each series there is a sub-list, I guess you could call it, of the order in which to read books within that series, if that makes sense. So, for instance, the Mistborn series, if you click on Mistborn, he has a list of the order that you should read the main books and the short stories. So he puts them all together that way. However, there's not a master list that I could find that had the main books with the short stories all put together, which is what we created for you guys.
There's one, how would you word this? Last hiccup that we hit? Hiccup? Is that the right way?
Yeah.
All right. And it is that whenever he publishes his books, he doesn't always do it like all of the Cosmere books, and they haven't all come out one right after the other. He does write other stories that are not a part of the Cosmere, so it just makes it harder. So it's kind of not all going to be in that chronological, real time, lifetime timeline, time.
Well, it's difficult also because he writes the short stories at different times than they belong in the Cosmere series. He writes Cosmere and non-Cosmere books back to back. He's often splits series. So, for example, he'll write Mistborn book 2, but then like a different series book 1, and so it's very difficult to stay within his writing schedule chronologically. So I did the best I could.
And if you guys didn't know, we are Brandon Sanderson fans. So, I mean, all of the books that I've read by him, I've loved.
Yeah.
So, is Skyward a part of the Cosmere?
Mm-mm.
Dang.
It's
Because
a good
Skyward
book,
was
though.
good.
The next one's coming out this year, I think.
Cool. Let's get started.
Let's get started. I
say it last. Let's get started.
Within the Cosmere, there are 2 books that are standalone titles that you can read technically any time in the timeline. However, I wanted to try to go as chronologically as possible, which is why we picked up Elantris first. This is his first published work as an author, and it just happens to be in the Cosmere. And a lot of people say you shouldn't start off with this book because it's not his best work. To be honest, I just read this year, and it is one of my all-time favorite Brandon Sanderson books. Is it for everyone? I guess not, but for me, it blew my mind. I thought it was amazing. I just loved the characters and the character development. So I personally feel like if you like characters and you like good magic systems and you like a good overall story, this is definitely a good place to start. I don't know why people say you shouldn't start here, but I think it's totally doable.
I really liked it too. It was definitely one of my favorite reads so far. It's weird because like one thing that you'll always hear from me when it comes to Brandon Sanderson is that he knows how to write something that I don't care about but make me care about it. And that's the thing about this book. It's like if anybody else wrote this book, I would have probably hated it.
Probably.
Does that make sense?
He just does it so masterfully.
There's a lot of political stuff and
Yeah.
it was like slow, there's a lot of slow parts, but it was just like the way that it's written.
And the characters, you care about the characters.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? It's just...
People also say that he's not good with character development, which I totally disagree with. Like, I think he's amazing at character development. But that's just my personal opinion. I think this is a great starting point. It lets you, like, get into his magic systems a little bit to see how he manipulates, like, normal tropes and magic to make it his own. And it's a good story. We
had to save up for a little bit, but we ended up getting all of the UK ones, which, in both of our opinions, they do look better. And I love when things match. I love having it all on the shelf and they all look very similar to each other. I think that's really cool. So that's why they all will look similar to this one.
Yeah, they're all the UK paperback editions, and I tried to get the ones that were about the same size as one another because they do have some awkward size ones. So yeah, they're all pretty much very uniform. They look very nice on a shelf next to one another.
So Elantris is number one. Let's move on to number 2.
2, 3. So we also picked up the UK edition of the Arcanum Unbounded. It's hard to see. This is a collection of all of the short stories that are out right now in the Cosmere universe. I'm sure there will be more in the future, and I'll have to purchase them separately. But as of right now, I think this is all of them. So there are 2 short stories in here for Elantris, so I'm going to be reading... I already read them. What am I talking about? After the Elantris book...
You'll be reading
The Emperor's Soul and Hope of Elantris. So The Emperor's Soul, technically you can read it at any point. However, I feel like to fully appreciate...
Or even appreciate it a little bit.
Yeah, you definitely should read Elantris first. So I'm saying the order you should read it is Elantris, then The Emperor's Soul, and then The Hope of Elantris, which the Hope of Elantris you absolutely should read after the fact. you shouldn't read that before Elantris.
Because there are spoilers in
There's
it.
total spoilers.
Spoilers.
Yeah. After Elantris, the next series you should jump into is the first Mistborn trilogy, the original trilogy, whatever
First
you want to call
Mistborn
it.
trilogy? There's more than one?
Yeah.
So we got this cool little box set, which is, it's a box set. Whatever. It's cool. I like it. You like it?
Yeah.
I like it. All right. So first one is The Final Empire. Correct? Mm-hmm. All right. I got scared there. I thought I was wrong because you just didn't say anything. So The Final Empire. We recently read this during the book club.
It was a reread for us, but even still, I had forgotten so much. So much
we read it
in
like
the series.
5 years ago or something. Or more. It's excellent. The magic system. Brandon Sanderson is the best magic. He's a magician when it comes to magic systems. He's a wizard.
Then book 2, which we just finished, and we're actually doing a live stream today, is Well of Ascension. You can't really talk about this one. But then book 3 is The Hero of Ages. So there's a lot of pages in these. Needless
to say, right? If you read all these, are we going to try to do all these this year? Is that the goal?
We could try.
All right. 2019 is going to be great.
I have a few people in my book club that are willing to keep going with me, and we pick basically Brandon Sanderson books every month.
You have me.
Oh. Yeah. I do. There you go.
What's next, Meek?
So next you would think that you would go straight into the next Mistborn trilogy, but I've been told that that's kind of a bad idea. Because...
Why? Tell me why.
Because people say that it's not as good as the original Mistborn, but then they'll come back and say that it's not really the case, it's just very different. So you need to palate cleanse before you go into the second series.
Okay.
Which I'm willing to take their advice. What I've decided to do is now pick up the next standalone book to kind of palate cleanse after Mistborn, which would be Warbreaker. I heard this book is really good. We have 2 editions.
Warbreaker. I want to hold a book too.
My first one came like super damaged. In fact, like it came like this and I left the pages like this. So
just to show you guys.
Like, look at that.
I mean, it's not a huge deal, right? But, if you can get a replacement, why not?
I don't know anything about this book. I know that it is a standalone, and this is about the time that he wrote it also, from what I can understand. Like, chronologically, it makes sense to kind of put it here.
Wait, I'm so excited. It says, magic as you have never seen it before. 4. Hey, there's only 4 in there once. But...
So, yeah, I don't know anything about this.
We don't know anything about this. Are we reading this after Mistborn?
Mm-hmm.
Cool, man.
We're going in order.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot. That's what this video is for. I did pause it. Now we have to go back to the Arcanum
Unbounded.
Unbounded. I couldn't read it backwards.
So, continuing in palate cleanse fashion and kind of staying-ish within the chronological order, I chose to read Shadows for Silence in the Forests of Hell, which is kind of a standalone-ish short story. So it's not in any of the worlds that we've visited yet or we will visit. From what I can understand, it's probably a world that he just hasn't created yet, or a book that he hasn't created yet.
I never even thought of that. That's a great,
So this short story doesn't...
It's like a little sneak peek
Yeah.
into like a new world, a whole new...
So this short story doesn't really fit into any of these other Cosmere planets or anything like that. So palate cleanse, we're reading it now.
This is like the ginger... of the R.A. Salvatore series.
You mean Brandon Sanderson?
Who's R.A. Salvatore?
He writes the Dritz books.
I'm not leaving that in, just so you know. This is like the ginger for the Brandon Sanderson series.
So I feel like that's enough of a palate cleanse, like 700.
And then we're jumping back in, baby!
To the second trilogy in the Mistborn world. I hear that this is like hundreds of years after the original.
Yeah, that's
Mistborn.
what I heard too.
So it starts off with Alloy of Law.
Alloy of Law. Look, they're a lot shorter.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh God, hold on. I literally stack those right there.
It's like half.
It's a whole less of a book, like one less book basically
Yeah.
in pages. So
So I don't know anything about these. I chose not to. I just know that they're different. So don't go into it thinking that it's going to be like the first Mistborn series.
So theoretically, you could go in and just start and read this series if you just want. Like it's kind of its own. It's almost its own contained. It probably is its own contained story, but it would probably call back.
Spoilers.
Okay.
It
Spoilers.
does.
All right.
So you are supposed to read this after the original Mistborn if you don't want anything spoiled for you.
So this is like watching the original Star Wars, and then if you read that, you would go back and watch the prequels.
Yeah.
But in this case, the prequels are probably better, in my opinion, because I don't know. I don't know anything about these.
No. Okay, so it's Alloy of Law.
Alloy of Law.
Shadows of Self, and then Bands of Mourning. That's
These titles mean nothing to me.
Me neither.
And I'm so excited about it. All right, let's go with the pages. This is like one book. If you put them all together,
right?
it's like that book right there on top.
Yep.
So after that, we're jumping back again, once more, into the Arcanum Unbounded, or Bounded, because it is bound as a book altogether. The name doesn't make sense.
So there are actually.
It should be called Arcanum Bounded.
Yeah.
Or Binded. Arcanum.
You okay?
No.
So there's 3 technical short stories for the Mistborn series. I chose to leave them all after the original 6. So like you read the main 6 and then read the short stories. That's kind of how his website tells you to do it. So I chose to stay true to his website and do it that way. One of them has like the most ridiculous name ever. So first is the 11th Metal, which is, if you've started reading Mistborn, I'm pretty excited for just a short story called The 11th Metal. Then there's one called Alamancer Jack and the Pits of Eltania, episodes 28 through 30. That's literally the name of it.
What about the other episodes?
I don't know. And then there's one called Mistborn, The Secret History. So we're going to read them in that order after the whole Mistborn series.
Nothing's over there. I'm just looking at you. Relax.
So next comes a lot of people's most beloved series by Brandon Sanderson, and that is the Stormlight Archive series, which he only has 3 books out right now. I don't know how many there's going to be. I think it's something like 7-ish. But he's still writing them. So I'm a little hesitant to like jump in and start reading these. A, because they're enormous, and B, because, it's going to take a long time to come out with the rest of them. So I originally bought this US edition of this book. I just wanted to show you guys what it looked like. It's 1,001 pages.
Whoa.
It's crazy.
That was so heavy. Just like, Wow. It's a big format too, like the page size.
They're so long.
And it's pretty dense when it comes to the
words.
The words and the size for them.
Yeah, it's a big book. So in the UK, I'm sure you guys know if you've watched other YouTube channels, they split all of the Stormlight Archive books in half for the UK ones, which kind of sucks because you literally have to buy 2 books for each one.
And they're regularly priced.
They're actually kind of expensive. They're like 15 to 17 on average a piece, so they're pretty expensive to buy them like this, but I just love these covers, and I wanted these covers. So the first one in the Stormlight Archives is The Way of Kings. We know nothing about it. I'm purposely not going to look up any synopsis or anything. I don't want to know what it's about. But there's that one.
This one, which is 2, but 1.
I'm counting it as one book.
It's 1. Does it just say part 1 and 2?
Yeah.
It does. It just says part 1 and 2.
It's one book.
It's one book.
So the second book in the Stormlight Archive series is Words of Radiance. Which one's part 1? This is part 1 and part 2. So, look how cool they look together. I just love it.
I just love matching stuff.
Yeah. I like these. This totally reminds me of like an anime cover. Look at it.
Oh, wow. How come these don't look like that?
I don't know. But, this is the third one.
They should have done that for all. They made the first 2, and they were like, guys, I have an idea.
Yeah.
Let's do this because they're 2 parts and they're the same book, so let's make them talk to each other.
I don't know if you could read this, but it's called Oathbringer. These don't match that though. So
yeah, but they do. The color scheme's still the same, but just different amounts of each.
So yeah, this is
Oh, which one are you taking?
One book. These two are
Yeah,
one book.
we figured it out, Meek. We got
Okay,
two
okay.
parts to each book. We got it.
That's not the order you read them in, though.
Wait. What?
It is. So you're going to start with The Way of Kings.
Way of Kings.
And then you're going to go to The Words of Radiance.
And then Way of Radiance.
But according to the Sanderson website, you can actually read a short story after that.
Is that what we're doing?
Yes. Before going into the third one. So the short story, which you can find in this, is called Edgedancer.
Almost at the end. We're almost there. We almost made it, guys. Okay? The next 3 parts or whatever is a little complicated because there's some comic books involved and a story that's in here that says that it's an excerpt from something and also like a prologue or a what was it? How did they word it?
I can just read it because I don't remember how they worded it. It's a very lengthy description.
It's literally a sentence. It's just a sentence.
This excerpt from the 2016 graphic novel is followed by the beginning of the 1999 draft that formed the basis of the graphic adaptation.
2 sentences. The amount of book that's in this is 42 pages, and 18 of them are comic book, and then there's some more in this comic book here. And
so it's called White Sand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read this first because it does have like what they're calling like a prequel type deal.
This is what I think it is. It's just that it was like a rough draft. It's a draft.
And it has a prologue.
It's a draft of what this eventually became is what I believe it is. So I think that you can just read this because I don't think there's any extra information on there. I think there's just basically the story written out and then the story comic booked out.
Which I like this better because I'll probably gain more information from this. So I'm going to read this first because of that, and then I'm going to read the comic books. It's a little difficult telling you page numbers, though, because, A, they're comic books. They don't have page numbers.
And we're not counting them.
So
I'm going to say they're like 40 pages.
Ish. But we're just going to count the ones in here because that's basically the information that you're going to get in here.
So that leaves us with 1 book left, at least for right now. Is it in this? Okay, there you go.
So the last book is another short story, which is another standalone short story. It's not really set in any of these worlds, but it's still within the Cosmere. Again, is called Sixth of the Dusk. Again, don't know anything about it. I do know that it is the farthest down the timeline of any of the Cosmere books right now, so that's why I chose to leave it to dead last.
Sixth of the Dust. Is that what it is?
Dusk.
I wrote dust. Is it not dust?
No, it's dusk.
That's what I said. I mean, Sixth of the Dusk. 51 pages, and it bringing us to a whopping 8,815 pages. And my guess was 8,253, which makes me
wrong by 562.
But you guessed 9,726.
Which makes me wrong by 911.
Basically makes you more wrong than me.
He
so
wins.
Therefore, I'm the bookmaster. I mean, I wasn't right, so I was just less wrong. But you were closest without going over. No, wait, you went over. I was closest.
You still win.
I was closest without going over.
You did go over. No, you didn't. You didn't. So you win.
So either way, I won. I was trying to give you at least half a win there, but I'm sorry.
It's cool.
So if you guys like this video, make sure to smash or hit or, punch it or give it a little nudge, the like button we're talking about. Maybe the subscribe button if you liked it. Also, if you guys want to support us on Patreon, we do have a Patreon. Links down below, also at the end of the video, if you want to check that out. Let us know what you guys thought about our order, our decision on this, and if you guys are going to join us on any of the future reads that we're doing. We do plan on reading probably all of these. Probably won't do a read along with the comics because you could just sit down and read them in 10 minutes.
Also, we're gonna put a link down below of our list in case you just want the list.
Yeah, if you just want the list, that's cool.
To follow along, check off, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll put the page numbers in there.
Maybe we'll put the page numbers in there. Yeah. Thanks for saying maybe because there's
It's
just more
a lot
work.
of work.
It's not a lot. It's just like an extra 5 minutes, but it's just like numbers.
Yeah. I think we're done. That was a lot longer than I thought.
I thought it was it was shorter than I thought.
Yeah.
I'm used to these types of videos taking forever. See you guys in the next video. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Kivox. This is Meekachii. Say bye, Meek.
Bye, Meek.
Bye, bye, bye.